Okay, we're in. We're on.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, buddy, how you doing?
I'm okay. The last couple of weeks have been pretty stressful, but I'm on vacation mode already.
I love it. I love it. So we're on WTF, Widow Trio and Freedom. My guest here is Paul Micheshin, and we've been friends for it's got to be almost, it's over 10 years now, right?
It's gotta be 8 or 10 years, yeah.
Around there.
Yeah.
Um, the reason why I wanted to bring you in and have a conversation is I have seen you in multiple scenarios, all over, with different people, from being
Hmm.
at shows performing, and just from chit chatting with good friends that we have mutual friends with, and you carry yourself so well, and you do, you do. I mean, I'm sure there's
Except
some.
for Friday.
No, that was my fault, buddy. That was my
Nah,
fault.
man. I lost my temper, man. It's cool. It's all right.
We
It's
had
okay.
some people out there to know we had I had some issues with software, and I'm still figuring things out. Paul's been so gracious to be able to come on here and help me debug this. So thank you, Paul.
Yeah. No, no, no. No worries. It's my privilege.
Yeah. So it's Thanksgiving. You're
Yeah.
off to Texas and you're in holiday mode. That's a good thing, man. Who's in Texas?
So my cousins Daria and her husband Troy out in Frisco. It's about 35 miles northeast of Dallas. We're gonna be there till Friday, and then we're gonna drive down to Austin. My wife, has family down in Austin, so we're gonna visit with them for a day, stay the night, and then Saturday we'll come back, but not before we go and stop off at one of my favorite bookstores. It's outside of Austin in a little town called Bastrop, and that's I don't know if you know his work. His name is Ryan Holiday. He does a lot of books on Stoicism. He's got
Yeah.
the Daily Stoic, the Daily
Yeah.
Dad. Yeah, I love his work. He's got a bookstore down there. It's called The Painted Porch,
Yes, I know exactly who you're
and
talking. I've been reading his stuff. Actually, helped me
yeah,
get through Annie's, like losing Annie. Yeah, I tapped into that, man.
whoa,
I know,
really?
dude. It literally is the thing that woke me up. No joke. I
Wait, what do you mean? How do you
uh,
mean that?
cause, man. I mean, you saw my post. I was always out with my kids, smiling for everybody, but I wasn't right. You know what I mean? In so many
Yeah.
ways. I put kids to bed at 8:30, and by 9 o'clock I'm crying, or I wasn't in a good place, mate.
Oh,
For straight up for like a solid 3 years, and then it was
wow.
before this time last year actually. I worked at a friend's house. I remodeled his kitchen for him, and he put me onto Stoicism. And then I went down that rabbit hole, and then the Daily Stoic and all that sort of stuff. And I just started reading, and I came out the other side with the perspective of, um, I'm so thankful for Annie's death, and it's morbid to say that, but what it's done for me, Paul. You
Mm,
saw me. I was doing corporate America stuff. I was traveling. I was
I
never
know.
home. I didn't know
Yeah.
my kids. I'd be the grumpy dad on the weekends trying to catch up on sleep because I just worked my butt off all week.
Yeah.
To come into my wife gave her life so I could live a better one. And now I've been forced with no money because I'm broker than a joke, but it is what it is. It's humbling in so many ways, but it's taught me about coming together with my kids. You know what I mean? And I just
Mm.
would never have had that, man. You know what I mean? And it literally would have been Annie, um, being there with the kids while I worked, and I wasn't happy, dude. Like I was smoking more pot than I could really admit to, and drinking every
What?
night.
I
Well,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
when I'm traveling, every night I was schmoozing. So we were at a bar, having dinner, and there's always drinks. And the nights when I wouldn't be with someone schmoozing, I would be in a hotel room, and you're just trapped by four walls and a stupid TV. So then I would smoke a doobie or eat an edible, It wasn't great, mate. You know, my quality of life was garbage, and man, I missed my family. So then when she got cancer, and I shut all that down, came home, started an excavation company, so I could
I
just be
remember.
home. Yeah, yeah.
And the
Yes, yeah,
weed company
and
too.
I did start. I started the farm halfway through that, so I could build. I was literally extracting all the stuff
Right.
that I would use for Annie. So
Yeah.
that was huge. Yeah, not easy, man. Not easy.
No, right.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
God.
So Stoicism, I love that. I wish I was doing this trip with you, man. I want to go
Oh,
to Austin so bad.
it's a great town. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
great town. Bastrop is pretty far out. It's kind of historical, and I think Ryan and his wife own a couple of the buildings there,
Oh wow.
uh, like a supermarket and a restaurant, and then the bookstore, and then I guess there's a vinyl store that was attached to it. So I don't. The girls, my stepdaughters, don't know. I didn't say anything to them about it yet, but I think that'll be a nice surprise for them too, actually,
Yeah.
because the Dee, the oldest, she has a record player, and they, they like they love to go and uh, what is it when you go to like thrift shops, thrifting.
Oh yes. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. It's funny. Last time I saw you, so let's see. The second to last time was the third to last time was when we came to see you and Annie. Um,
Yeah.
the second to last time was Annie's online service, and then the last time I saw you was uh, was
Oh,
afterwards. You were
at the
up in
beach.
L.A. with the boys at the
Yeah.
beach.
Yeah, we come down to see you.
That's right.
That was a great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember, and the
Yeah.
boys would say, "Oh, because it was the sunset. We were on the beach, and
Hmm.
that's where I told them, because the sky was amazing. It was just like oranges and pinks and purples and all that sort of jazz. And I said, "Look at that sky, boys." And they're like, "Wow." I'm like, "Yeah, I bet your mum painted that for us, because that's what she
Hmm.
did. You know, like yeah, scenic design and all that sort of stuff." And since
Right.
then, we say it all the time. Whenever we see a great sunset, because where we live, it's amazing, just a big sky. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Oh my
we
God.
yeah,
That's right. I met you at Carolyn Barry's.
yeah, man.
You
Yep.
guys were doing
The
you were
breakfast
doing
thing,
catering
the
for her.
brunch. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, I was fixing her house. My wife was cooking all the little bits and pieces for you guys.
Oh my
Yep,
God.
in the Hollywood
Yeah,
Hills.
man. Oh
Yeah,
geez.
it's been a
You
hot
know,
minute.
God. What so yeah, you're right. Most people talk about this pretty superficially.
Mm,
Loss, grief.
yeah, it's tricky, man.
Um, well, right. Not everybody's willing to meet you where you are with whatever, right? And so I guess I'm kind of curious now that we're on the other side of your loss.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm just getting started with this family. I mean,
Oh man.
Monica and the girls, they're grown. I'm like, I'm the last yard in a 50-yard game. Uh, so, I mean, I like to try to participate every chance I get. We just went to a bunch of cross country meets and
Yeah.
soccer games. The youngest ones in soccer, and um, but for you, what was that like? Just getting started. I mean, the boys they were young,
You know, the statistic
and
is Annie was 42 and the boys were
mm,
4 and 2. And I got my little guy out of diapers. I've been through all of it.
whoa,
Yeah, it was pretty hard, actually, really hard. Kind of tricky. For the first couple of months, I didn't talk to anyone, I didn't do much. I barely felt like I was alive, you know?
mm.
And then I went and did ayahuasca.
Hmm.
That's crazy. I
Up in the hills somewhere. Where were you?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, there's a place called the LaSalle Mountains up near Moab,
Okay.
and it was like if there could have been he couldn't have made it more perfect. It was absolutely bulletproof. And it was a Friday, Saturday, and I went home Sunday. A good friend of mine and Annie's was looking after the kids, and like I said, like before I left, the kids would be like walking around on eggshells with me, you know,
Mm.
and it was kind of it was tricky, and it broke my heart. I would just I was just such an angry bear. My life didn't feel good. I was so sore and hurting. And every now and then I'd be like, go do this, and the kids would, oh, you know, oh man, and then
Yeah.
I'd see that, and it would just
Mm.
straight to the heart. So a friend called me up and said, hey, we found the ayahuasca. I know your wife's not here anymore because we were looking for it for Annie, and then she ended up finding ketamine, and that helped her too. So. And I said, no, well, my friend's like, I think it might be good for you. And she had seen me. She ran into me. She lived around the area. And she's like, I can tell you're hurting. It's like, yeah, man, I'm really hurting. And she said, well, my friend's doing the retreat. So I went and did that. And no joke, man, the first night, my wife was like, as soon as I took the stuff, there's like 3 cups of this horrible, horrible, thick, syrupy tree juice.
You are a lousy salesman.
No, it was horrible, horrible, horrible. And I wouldn't
My
wish it upon,
God.
no, no, like you got to dig pretty deep to do ayahuasca. I had fasted going into it. I purged all the animal products out of my, except for cheese, but you know, and then going to do it, I barely ate anything, but I did these 3 cups to get maximum effect, and 3 cups full. You know, it was bang, bang,
Mm.
bang over maybe about a half an hour or so. And most people were only doing like little quarter cups and just having a fun time. And I'm like, I'm not here for a fun time. I need to get myself sorted so I can be there for my boys. And
What
so
were you
one,
looking for? Yeah,
I
what
don't
were
know.
you what was the hope? What was the
No,
thing that you wanted to happen?
uh, I think I wanted to talk to my wife. I wanted to know I was doing right because I was at that point where I was ready to take my kids to her best friend's house, Lacey, and I was gonna just leave them there, and say, I can't do it. So I was broken, man, and my biggest fear was they were little,
Yeah.
and I'm a bear, coming from, I just know how to work hard, and I didn't want to mess with their heads. And I'm reading books and I'm trying, but I'm not doing good. Anyway, short story long, or long story short, I I I did this stuff, and I just remember the first of the feeling, like when you take a medication, it starts to take an effect, and my
Mm.
brain, which they say this like the ego, the death of the ego, was racing like, you idiot, what have you done? Like it was disastrous, and I was like, oh. And I'm just like, breathe, just calm down. And I had done a lot of studies on this stuff, so I knew what somewhat to expect. And then, I'd shut my eyes and I would see spiders and bugs and freaky stuff. And I'm like, nope, can't do that. And then I kept breathing, opened my eyes, and I'd shut them. And then I remember when I shut them for a bit, then I opened them, and I saw a geometric pattern around every single tree, everything everywhere. And there's like a heartstring pulling me straight up in the sky. And there's another one going straight to my kids. And everybody that I cared about was from attached to my heart to theirs, and I could feel everybody that I loved, you know?
Mm.
And and I'm like, whoa. I'm just like, it's pretty cool. Like, it's amazing to see, like, that tree's connected to that tree, and it's just weird. I know it sounds wacko or wackadoo. You can believe what you want to believe. I know what I did. You know what I mean? Like, for anyone out there watching that. Um, and then, like, I'm looking around in amazement, and then I feel her. And I'm like, Annie? And and I could feel like she was miles away. And she
Mm.
says, I'm here. I said, where are you at? She goes, I'm with the boys. I said, you sound far away. And she's telling me what they were doing at Michelle's house. They were playing this specific game. And I remembered that. And I was like, wow. And I said, I should be with them. And she's like, no, you need to be here now with me. I'm like, okay. and
Whoa.
the next thing she said to me, she said, you need to know I chose you because you're enough.
Oh
Just, yeah.
man.
Like, I've got goosebumps just thinking about it, you know? And she
Yeah.
just went down that rabbit hole of talking about different things we went through and and how much those kids are gonna be like I couldn't see the end game, but she can. And these kids are gonna be well provided for once I get back on my feet. And it's gonna be a while and it's gonna take a long time, you know? Whew. It was hard. So hard to even fathom, you know what I mean? And I did that, you know, I did 2 days of that. So the main message from her was, and she kept saying it, no, you're enough. No, you're enough. And fill your cup full of love. No, you're enough. And I'm so proud of what we did, what we, what we experienced, me taking her out of Utah to go chase dragons in LA, you know, and I mean, we did tons of stuff, you know what I mean? We just never really hit where we wanted to hit.
Sure.
Um, but it was all wrapped around those kids. And then Sunday morning, as soon as it was done with the whole retreat thing, everyone's like still doing their thing, and I'm out of there. I'm packed my. I got a little tent. I wheelbarrowed the tent back to my car because it's miles away, and jumped in and went straight back home to the kids. Actually, I visited her grave, and I made some promises that once I got back on my feet, I would start to talk to some of her family. But as of right now, I was too raw to do that. But I made that promise that I would. Her family turned their back on me. You know, everyone just treated me like I was a leper and a crazy man and very dangerous. And I asked them once, you know, why you guys treat me like this? And one of them said, "You're a scary man, and everyone's scared of you, Rob." I was like, why? And did Annie ever say that I hit her or beat her or did anything wrong to her? No. Come to think of it, she said that you were the love of her life. And I said, well, why don't we just run with that? You know? But I went from her grave back to pick up the boys.
Mm.
And for the most part, the boys would walk on eggshells around me all the time. But as soon as I pulled up and I got out of my car, they ran out of the house and
Mm.
crash tackled me to the ground. And all three of us were just crying and we were full
Mm.
of love, like a ball of love.
Mm.
And from that day forth, I sort of picked up my bat and ball and we made do, you know?
Yeah.
I don't miss it. And I fought it for so long. That scenario was super hard for me. And but yeah, and then over the next little bit, you know, I moved out to well, I'm at a place called Cedar City in Utah, southern Utah. It's about 6.5 hours away from you. And we live in an RV. It's a big RV, you know, but it's
Great.
cool. Like I got a great scenario, great setup. I live off peanuts, but that's all we need right now. I mean, majority of my money right now goes to putting the kids through jujitsu, ninja class, and piano. They're playing piano. Jack's actually. I've been building a mini studio in our backyard. He's playing really well. Like he's making music, which is kind of fun. And he's 9 years old. You know what I mean? It's just
Man.
so I'm very lucky, man.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to watch develop. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How? So you just like you're new to the marriage business, right? Have you've been married before, right?
I was married once. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got divorced in 2012. And
Yeah.
we had been together 10 years and married 4.5, something like that. Um, yeah. I, it's funny too, because I know Monica like 10 or 11 years.
Wow.
We were friends. We played softball together
Oh, I remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in a church league, and she and her sister and her dad. So I knew her family. And uh, the funny thing was, 2 years ago, I was dating a different girl, um, and it was something wasn't quite right. We'd been dating for, I don't know, 90 days or just a couple months, but Christmas it was a 11 o'clock Christmas Eve service that I loved going to. The girl I was dating didn't want to go, and that was maybe part and parcel some of the reasons why um, we didn't work out. But Monica was there, and something was just like different. We just had a different chemistry, and uh, and we just sort of very quietly started meeting up at church, and afterwards going for breakfast or coffee, or
I love it.
then yeah, Valentine's Day I took her to Mel's Diner out on Ventura Boulevard, and she was like, "Is there something happening here?" She's like, "Sometimes I can imagine things," and I was like, "Nope, I feel like something's
Yeah.
happening for me too." And then
Yeah.
first kiss, and you know, it was just after that, it was just easy rolling. She's a super wonderful person, and we have so much alignment in so many ways. And I'm too old to mess around, so you know, seriously, I'm like,
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you.
if, if I see the right one. But um, you know, and so we just got married in July. But it's funny. I want to go back to something that you
Oh
said
yeah.
uh, about the ayahuasca. It sounded like you were looking for a spiritual experience,
Oh,
man.
for sure. 100%. And I knew what I was getting into, and I didn't think I would talk to her, maybe God, maybe just a voice of reason, um, to understand what I needed to do. But the one thing about ayahuasca is you feel it in every single part of your body, and it just filled my whole body full of love. Like I walked out of
Mm,
there and I was just loving life. I didn't understand why, but I felt like I had the tank now. I could give it to my boys, and it's not
mm,
always been roses, but for the most part, like we got a good scenario, you know.
mm-hmm.
Um, I've since done other things since then, like I did some times on some mushrooms,
Okay.
but only for because I was just lonely, you know, and I'm still trying to pull myself out of the funk. It's like jump starting a car or something, you know. Oh, we're almost home, but we just need to jump it again, you know, and maybe it'll run for this much time. And that's how I sort of felt like it would come in waves where I'd be okay. Ayahuasca lasted quite a lot of time, and then I thought I met someone, and I moved out there to be with them or be closer to them, and oh my goodness, that was not great. And
Oh.
it broke me, and it broke me in other ways too, because now the 100% all the grief kicked in, and once that kicked
Mm,
in, because I was like, how could I have so many emotions over someone I just barely met that I know is not worth it, but it was still me processing Annie. So
yeah, I bet.
yeah, that was
Jeez.
crazy, dude. That was not fun, but it was. And then from those moments there, a friend of mine has a cabin up in the mountains, and he's like, "Hey, can you go up there and build me a shower? Like I want a rustic shower." And I did with that corrugated iron. It looked awesome. You
Ooh.
know, yeah, really cool. I should send you the photos.
Yeah, man.
Um, and it come out really good. Rock formation, wood, the whole deal. You know. But while I was up there, I had me and my two dogs, and no one was in it. No one was anywhere. You had to forward drive in. No one was there. So I just had a
Nice.
big bag of mushrooms.
Oh my
Man, talk about
God.
glutton for punishment, mate. That was scary, scary, scary. But the theme was loneliness. There's nothing
Mm,
around. You're all by yourself. You're going to be by yourself for a while, friend. And if you do that, and you get through the other side, you might have something. I'm like, what?
I don't know, man. That sounds like a god-sized hole you're looking to fill there.
Oh, massive, massive. You seen
Yeah,
Annie in my world? Annie was
yeah,
amazing. She was
yeah.
my everything. I like even I didn't know what Annie was to me until she passed away. And like I remember I would joke around about stupid things with her just because where I'm a man. and and um And on the way out, she sort of wanted me to be with a certain person and talking about that, and then, you know, you'll get through this, and it's like, oh, I'll be fine, and she's like, yeah, you'll be fine. It's like, yeah, 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 no worries, And she said, well, what do you think? How long it'll take you? Ah, give me 2 weeks.
Oh my
Try
God.
3 years, 4 years, and I still pray to her.
Wow, 4 years. Jeez.
Yep. It was, she was amazing, period. You know? Even
Mm,
while she was going through cancer and treatments and all that jazz, I was getting up at the crack of dawn to go to work, and I would go jump in the shower. By the time I get out of the shower, there's an egg sandwich waiting for me. I'm like, what are you
mm.
doing? Go to bed. And she's like, no. She goes, I got a feeling this might be the last time I could do this for you.
Oh man. Wow.
Yeah. So that's yeah, that was tricky, man. That was very tricky. Wasn't easy, but it is what it is, and it changed our world to be able to be stronger. You know, I'm way stronger now than what I've ever been. Um, and I'm back at school. I'm at school. 45
Right.
years old and going to school, trying to make a better life so I can be home with the boys. And so I can develop, because all my credentials, I'm really good at sales. I'm really good at marketing. The sales and marketing that I was doing was, traveling everywhere and schmoozing with people, which is fun to do. But
Right.
not soul filling, you're soul sucking more than anything. So now I'm kind of on the other side of it where I'm trying to do this sort of stuff and get into producing and creating things.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah. What are you still performing and stuff in LA?
Oh yeah, man. I just shot a I was working, let's see. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
And then there are several things happening all at once and not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's LA for you
uh
though, right?
yeah. Auditioning lately. Nothing a commercial, a feature film that I got hired for. I had to turn it down actually.
Oh.
Yeah, because it was non-union. They swapped it on me,
I hate when they
and
flip. That
I was
sucks.
just like, yeah, I was like, hey, no, man, I can't do that. I can't do that. Thank you, though. Good
Yeah.
luck. A commercial, that film, bunch of short films. That's just this fall. My goal is love to get some more TV credits, but um, I've been writing a ton. I'm still working. Did some on stage work.
Yeah, you're great on
Uh,
stage.
oh, thanks, brother. Thank
Yeah.
you. Uh, and this year's also been sort of a renewal for me in singing.
Oh
Really
yeah,
been
that's right.
singing
Yeah,
quite a
you
bit.
do. You do singing, don't you?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so, and I'm not exactly sure where singing music fits in my professional life.
You never know.
No, and what is it? Kierkegaard calls sin missing the mark. You can't look at a talent and just not use it or
Yeah, that's valid.
develop it in yourself. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I've actually been singing quite a bit lately, of late. Since I've been feeling
Ah.
better. Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Yeah. Even I suppose it's the one thing I try to do is I try to keep that standard for my boys to see that I'm always doing hard things, right?
Mm.
Which makes me have to do most things. And it's like, oh yeah, I do that. What? But
Mm.
because my eldest Jack, he's making songs and beats and stuff like that. I'll do a
Mhm.
track for him that he can lay down with my voice on it. you know.
Oh.
And I do lots of voice. I mean, yeah, I'm really good at doing voiceover stuff and all that. So I get like all the demon voice, and that sort of thing, which is
Nice.
kind of fun.
That's great.
Yeah, so we just play around, but then I sing some things for him, and wow, Dad, you got a great voice, and I'm like, thanks, man.
Hmm.
I feel like an imposter,
Oh,
but
I don't know
it's
why, man.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's true. I'm enjoying it, and these boys push me. And the good thing is like all this stuff, like the studio, the interviews, you'll see in some of my videos. Sometimes they come in and they see me doing it. I also do the
Hmm.
news for this school. I'm an anchor. Reading all the
Okay.
teleprompter and stuff like that. So getting all that
Hmm.
experience as well, which is great. And they got to see me do my first episode of that, which was not long back. And my son come up to me afterwards like, "Wow, Dad, that was really cool. How long have you done that for?" It's like, "Dude, that's my first time." What?
Ah,
I know, it's
how
cool, huh?
wonderful.
Yeah, it's
How
it's
wonderful.
it's
Yeah,
it is. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. But like I
sure.
say, losing my wife is probably the best thing that ever happened to me. I feel like the lot of my ego, which I'm sure lots of people back in LA would have seen when I lived there, that's gone. There's a different Rob now, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of enjoying this new Rob. No, I don't sweat half the crap that I used to. Now it's like, it ain't worth it, and that's hard because to get to that took me a lot.
Yeah. Most people just they don't look at it that way. They don't. My experience of a lot of people, it's not that they're not aware. It's that we get so caught up in the humdrum of our life that you
Yeah,
just do what works as opposed to what you want, or as a thoughtful, you know, analysis of like, oh, do I have a fulfilling life right now? I mean, it's part, I think, why America in particular, what is it? We're the most in debt, depressed, drugged up nation that we've ever been
oh man, isn't that
today.
sad?
It's 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 understandable when you consider the culture's driven it. The culture's driven both of those, all those elements where it's result oriented, right? So it's
Yeah.
not process. It's what have you done lately? And it's just it's it's not sane. It's
Yeah.
not sane.
I think the other thing too, because I live off no money whatsoever, I have to do a Costco run, which is 40 minutes down the road at St. George. And I can do that once a month. And I got food stamps that just cover that. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
maybe a little bit of meat I'll get throughout the month, and some broccoli. But I kind of put myself where I'm eating very, very clean.
Hmm.
I make everything from scratch. And I've even got
Hmm.
to the boys to down to like we hardly ever go out to eat, but every now and then if I've got a couple of bucks in my pocket, yeah, someone you never know, someone gives me cat whatever. I'll say, yeah, you guys want to eat somewhere, and it's usually whatever they'll go get Burger King or Wendy's or whatever. And
Right.
then afterwards, they're like, "Oh, we feel horrible." It's like that's crap food there. That's the difference between me cooking and you eating that stuff.
Right.
So they're learning principles. They love tacos, especially Jack. He's a taco fiend. So every Tuesday it's Taco Tuesday, and if I mention, also Tuesday we have the cheap nights at the cinemas, and once
Oh.
every few months I try to take us, and if I take us, then
Hmm.
I try to hit the. We go to a Del Taco down the road, and that's near it, and he'll make a point. Dad, can we just eat at home because I don't like these tacos, which is so awesome.
Right. What a great thing to hear.
I know, I love it. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
made with love.
Yeah. Yeah. Made with love and they prefer yours.
Yeah, meat, cheese, sour cream, and avocado.
Nice. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I live in LA 12 years,
Yeah.
and Monica, my wife is she's Latina, and I ask her all the time. I'm like, "How come these tacos are so terrible out here?" And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Look, I grew up
Oh,
in on the East Coast.
yeah.
I grew up in Pennsylvania and New York. My mom would make a fresh tortilla, and then it was like you put sour cream on there, you
Mm,
throw ground beef and some cheese and some lettuce and some tomato and whatever. We weren't really into spice. My sister liked spice. I didn't really like spicy stuff. Uh, and it was clean and delicious. And you throw beans in there too.
yeah.
These tacos are like fried. I'm like, oh, it makes me want to throw up in my mouth. I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, there's a couple of places in LA, but not many. And I think a lot of them disappeared after 2020, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't keep my finger on the pulse of that market. I was
Yeah.
just like, meh, LA tacos. I'm like, yeah, but you're not wrong. COVID.
Yeah.
I think we're still.
Trying to
I think
bounce
we're
out of
still.
it.
Yeah, well, I think we're still seeing the effects of what COVID did to our culture, or what our culture did to itself.
Mm, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the evidence that is coming out now from having the injections for it, the what is it called? The shots,
Immunization.
immunization,
Yeah.
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 And people having heart attacks and all sorts of crazy stuff going on from that now. There's a big movement in Australia because Australia forced everybody to do it. Everybody. Like,
Almost everybody in the world did. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, of course, I'm Australian, so I'm looking at Australia, but
Right.
they couldn't even drive 5 kilometers away from their house without a permit. You know what I mean? So if you wanted to work, you had to get the shot, and then from that now, there's some big lawsuits coming through. They lost a lot of people. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I mean, it's a tricky thing. Here in America, there were a couple of strange movements happening at the same time. You had a lot of anti-vaxxers, people who don't want to be vaccinated, screaming at the top of their lungs that forcing them to vaccinate was illegal. Uh, there was also, on the other hand, this nobody really talks about this. Think about it. The pandemic in 1918 lasted like 3 years.
Mm,
The pandemic here, I mean, we had uh, an immunization in like 4 months, 6 months,
yeah.
8 months, something like that.
Mm,
I think it was by like November of that year we had a shot. That's pretty remarkable in terms of our technology and our abilities. Now, on the flip side, nobody. I have a very close friend. My best friend from high school actually had a reaction to an immunization. Unfortunately, the old saying used to be, when you're one in a million in China, there are 1,000 others just like you,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But in America, when you're one in a million, it's usually because you were that one person who had a bad experience with something like that.
Mm,
You were, I know we all think we're exceptional, but there's actually a real norm that most people fall into. And I think, I think there are lots of unique elements about, I think there's unique, I think everyone is unique in some way, but there are tons of norms that everybody falls into. For me, I'm a science, um, I'm a person who likes to follow the scientific process. And for me, immunization is crucial, only because uh, it's part of a social contract. We're all in this together, and if we agree that that's the way we got to do it, then that's the way we got to do it. And if you don't want to do it, that's okay. You just can't live here anymore. Like,
yeah.
you're bucking the contract. You're going, I want what I want the way I want. Okay, you can have either what you want, or you can have it the way you want it. You can't have what you want, the way you want, where you want, when this is not what we're doing here.
Yeah.
There's a stand-up comedian. He calls it cultural dysmorphia.
Oh, I've heard
That
this.
yeah, I mean, he's making a joke about it in a way, but the whole America in particular, he's like 75 years ago, we didn't even have hot showers. He's like,
Mm.
come on, like the worst off person today is better than most royalty of, you know, up until the 17th or 18th century. Like,
Yeah. That's
he's
so
like,
true, eh?
yeah, he's like, um, and so uh, a lot of people take their expectations and then they compare their life to others, and then they go, oh, but I'm down here, therefore that's my freedom, that's my upward mobility, that's what I'm entitled.
Yeah.
It's and
I think I'm with you on that part. I think the majority of the vaccines that are out there we are needed. Like there's no, you know what I mean. Like I
polio, man,
yeah,
polio.
yeah. No, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I you know it's a tricky one with the pandemic. It's tricky, you know. Um,
Well, we just don't have enough data yet. It's not enough
exactly,
long-term study.
exactly. That's exactly, and that's probably where I'm coming from. And I don't know enough about it to talk about it really, so I probably should shut up. But you know, uh, I just going off like I just remembered seeing like it being here now. I've had COVID a couple of times, and now it just seems like a really serious cold. You know what I mean? Like I've lost my taste, lost my smell, and then it slowly comes back. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um,
It's interesting. I have the neighbors to my cousin who they always every Thanksgiving they're always at the house. They're really great people. They're from South Africa actually, and they have
hmm.
twins. They have twin daughters, and the twins, one of them, even up until last year, did not get their sense of taste
Oh
back.
wow.
Yeah, and they're kids. I mean, I don't think they were in their teens yet. I think they were in their like they were in between there.
Yeah.
Not quite 8, not quite 13, somewhere in there. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of studying that has to happen. That'll happen over time. There's a difference between the methodology you have to do right now to
Mm.
help solve a problem as opposed to long term. And um, yeah, there's a lot we don't know. That's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
So, did you say you were writing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll send it to you actually. I'll send you what I got.
Yeah. I'll give it a
I've
look at.
got I've got a pilot, um, but I've also got a Substack. I just started it. You read it. You read the one post, but every Tuesday I'll
Yes.
send up a post. You read the one.
Mm.
Um, that was kind of a reaction. I know we feel differently about this particular issue, but I was shocked at the um, recent election, the national election. I was shocked in a lot of ways. And I really thought I had a better sense of the direction of the country, but it turns out there are a lot of people who voted in a different way than I did. And I have to tell you, I don't think I understand it at all. And for me, I had to sit down and just be like, after a couple of years, I mean, I had friends who have blogs and post things all the time. And some of them were like, hey, man, we would talk politics or we would talk culture or something. And they would say, hey, you got something to show. You got something to offer.
Dude, you're
Why don't
very
you get in there?
knowledgeable. You're very knowledgeable.
I don't know about that. Thanks, man. I try. I'm curious. And to be honest, I'll be the first one to say the only thing I really know is that I don't know anything.
I appreciate that. That's where I'm at.
Well, and because it's right the second I think I know something, then I hold on to that, and good
It's
luck.
hard.
Now I'm entrenched in a position.
Yeah.
If I come at it and I'm like, well, why did you? Well, what were you thinking when you did that? That's different than what I think. and you just sit and you really listen to that other person, one of two things will happen. You may change your mind, or you may fortify your position, but you'll fortify it now with, oh, I think I'm a couple degrees off from what I think is really right on.
Mm,
And that's having those opposition positions are super important.
yeah. You know, oh man. The only reason why I'm excited for the next presidency
Mm,
is because when that guy was in there last, and believe me, I as a human, oh man, what a wacko. Just like you just saying all the things he says and things like that. It's pretty crazy. But the
yeah.
one thing I can testify, the last few years, I've been living off nothing, and it sucks. When the other guy was
Mm,
in office, I always had enough money for extra gas, so I could go for a drive on the weekends, or maybe take the kids somewhere. And
mm.
and food, I could afford food. As it is right now, I have to really watch when and how we eat to make it to the end of the month, which is just sad, you know. So that's the only thing that I've got going against the scenario. I've followed the Democratic Party my whole life, you know,
Mm.
and this is the only time that I actually voted against it, which is kind of weird, really weird, because usually that's where my morals sort of stood by, you know.
Yeah. What do you think turned you off about that candidate?
Um, I don't know the technical jargon, but you and I did talk about it a little bit. How I think after they had the debate with Biden and Trump,
Mm.
and then you could really see like Biden's not there. You know what I mean? That was like,
Yeah, no, he
oh
blew
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
he messed that hard. And then it
Yeah.
was such a quick reform to now it's her. Um,
Yeah,
and
she was
she
making
wasn't.
it apparent. Yeah. I didn't like that either, actually.
Yeah.
It turns out I've heard varying reports on this, but one of the reports was that I thought it was either a genius move or just a total shyster move. The, the genius move is the Republicans just had their convention in Milwaukee. It looked like a WWE event. It just
Yep.
in any way did not have the gravitas or the importance or the truth is, in a process like this, you don't want it to look like a spectacle.
No.
You want it to look like the most boring procedure in the world.
Structure.
Yeah, structure,
Yeah.
but also like calm thoughtfulness, something that had a lot of attention, time, and content for it. But unfortunately, the second you throw a camera on it, then good luck.
Yeah,
I
the
mean, it's got
circus
to
kicks
be
in.
yeah, it's a circus, and that guy is great at being a ringmaster. He really is.
He has had the last 40 years in the public eye to do so. And let's face it, he's done some crappy things to blue collared workers that were building these casinos, to people around, you know what I mean? Like it's not a great scenario. You know, when actually at the very beginning, as soon as she got that, okay, now it's her,
Hmm.
Camilla, I she did a couple of speeches and I was like, damn, this is awesome. Wow. I was actually impressed. I was
I
really
loved her debate.
impressed.
Yeah, I thought her debate performance was gonna be I was like, "Okay, that's it. We're cool. It's gonna be
Yeah,
okay."
it's good.
She wasn't my first choice of a candidate,
No.
but I was like, "I'm gonna get behind her because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
I don't know what happened between whatever that was, September and November.
Then she did some conversations and some talks here and there, and she started playing to the masses of where she was at. Like acting like a Southern belle with all the black people down there, and then going up north and acting like she's from there. You know what I mean? That was a little weird. That's when I was like, what? Because the first few talks were great. Like they were actually. That's when I thought, oh, this could be really good. this could be going in a good direction because she actually might have the reins now to really ring it in and do something about stuff.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. We could talk about that for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's something that'll be sorted out for a while.
Mm,
I also, the thing that troubles me is that the election cycle is so long. It's 18 months
it's
now.
too long.
So, I mean, my grandfather used to say, never trust anybody who spends $1 billion for a job that only pays 600K.
Yeah,
And you're talking about, I mean, I haven't seen the final numbers, but I'm sure Trump has spent something like $1 billion. I know she raised $1 billion and spent a little more than that.
yeah,
You're talking about $2 billion. $2 billion.
yeah, man.
I mean, what could you do in the world? There's so
Yeah,
much. You could
yeah.
fund, the Elon Musk and his Mars. You could fund that. You could fund climate change
How about
research.
helping the people that are in Hawaii? You know,
How about helping the people that are right here?
no. Well, in Hawaii, there's they're
And
Americans, but did that from that
sure.
fire thing that went down, and they were sending all that billions
Oh,
and billions over
Lahaina.
overseas.
Yeah,
Nah, mate,
yeah.
that was wrong. I don't know who was in control of that, but they should be shot.
Well, I mean, I think there's a couple things there. The billions and billions overseas. I mean, I think you're talking about Ukraine, and
Hmm.
to be honest, I have family in Ukraine, so that's a that's that's a red issue. Not with me, but what I mean to say is that that's the kind of thing that could easily, especially with the wrong people in office in power, that's the kind of thing that could literally end the world.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got the Russian president who just shows up and takes over Crimea, whatever it was, 6 years ago, eight
yeah.
years ago, 10 years ago, then comes back, 4 years ago, takes over, is basically like, nah, fuck it, we're gonna bomb. Oh, sorry.
No, you're
God.
good. We're on YouTube now, so
Oh,
we're
okay.
not on the yeah.
Sorry. Oh my
Lucky
gosh.
we're not live to the radio. We were trying to set that up, so we're good. We're good. Oh,
Yeah, oh my gosh.
that's funny.
So anyway, he basically just goes in and just bombs the heck out of the place
Yeah.
and then acts like it belongs to him anyway.
No.
And then, is testing out Poland, China.
Ugh.
I
That's
mean, you're
disgusting.
talking about these places where there's nowhere else in the world to go. And so now imperialism isn't, oh, look what we discovered. Imperialism is, I want that. I'm
Yeah.
taking it.
It's
And
a
I'm
tricky.
going to be honest, America is a big, some of the things we've done. One of the biggest things that I'm so disappointed with the September 11th stuff. And I was in New York
Yeah.
on that day. I was there. One of the biggest disappointments I have is that everybody gets stuck on, we will never forget. We will never forget. It's the same story every year. And there's no, why did this happen? What was our part in it? And oh, I know, look at you. You're like,
Yeah.
we
Uh,
can't talk about that. People
no,
don't
no,
want to
it's
talk
true.
about
It's
that.
true. It's so true. I mean, you're right. We looked at it from Australia too, like that. I remember the day, man. I remember the day, and we knew like, oh, here we go, World War III, game on. You know what I mean? That's it. It's on. And went after. Was it the missiles of destruction, all that jazz?
It was
WMDs or
weapons
whatever it
of
is.
mass
Yeah.
destruction and chemical weapons in
Yep.
Iraq. And at one point, Colin Powell suggested that there was weapons of mass destruction. There was also a suggestion, I don't remember how or where,
Yeah.
that there were nuclear weapons. Iraq
Oh.
had its hands on nuclear weapons. It was like they were trying to trigger every public hot button issue to get everybody behind the idea that we should go into Iraq.
You know, the one thing they discredit that scenario is if they did have it, do you think they would sit on it? They would use it in a heartbeat. Those guys blow themselves up. They don't care.
I think Iran's probably pretty close to a nuclear weapon at this point, if not
Oh, it's
already.
so scary, mate. That's scary, those guys having that stuff.
I mean, it's scary that we have it.
Well, I mean,
how must the rest of the world feel about us having it?
yeah, Yeah, and that goes along with when we go into areas like islands where no one's been there before and we Americanize them, they hate that. They really hate that. Jamaica hate all of them hate it. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
you're right. But going back to George W. Right? That's George W. was in that
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
How
You're
is
with us or
he?
you're against us.
How's he feeling now, knowing how many people they killed and how many bombs did they find?
I
Oh,
think I think the man just does a lot of painting nowadays.
uh,
I mean,
they
I don't
are
know. I
crazy
know.
paintings, dude. I would hate
You
to
know,
have that on my conscience.
I,
Oh,
I think that's the thing about the Bush family. You had Senior, who was a former head of the CIA,
hmm.
vice president under Reagan, president for 4 years. This guy was a war hero, and he got unelected. He got knocked out of office by Bill Clinton because he didn't look masculine enough.
Yeah.
Because he threw up at a Japanese embassy meeting in Japan. Uh, but these guys were Junior, his brother Jeb. They weren't from Texas. They were from Connecticut. They went
Yeah.
to, I think they went to Yale. I'm like, and now you're knocking down brush in Texas like you're a good old boy down in the backwoods. Come on.
Yeah, no,
It
there's
was, I mean, no
it's
wonder
all
you're an alcoholic.
it's
Like,
all
no
smoke and
wonder.
mirrors, eh? All smoke and mirrors.
That's what a friend of mine who he's worked on a couple campaigns. He used to say, Washington is Hollywood for ugly people.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. You mentioned the Clintons. I remember it being in Australia at the time. We were studying what Bill Clinton had done um, throughout his presidency. And I don't know the full statistics on this, but we were taught that he had gotten America out of debt. So they were
That's
looking
not
at.
true though.
No, no, I
He
don't
had a
believe it
balance.
is either.
He had a balanced budget, and we had a surplus. But
Okay.
that was trade, and so we had a balanced budget. Our trade, I don't think we had a trade deficit. I don't remember, but we had a balanced budget. That's actually Congress. That's the thing is that presidents have no control over that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
It's
no, I
so
suppose
interesting.
he's leading at the time, so I think that's kind of what they were saying is the things that he was putting in place actually got the country in a really good scenario, and then straight after him, the next person after that, you know, put us back into a lot of debt, and it's just been growing ever since.
Well, actually, let's see. The national debt's been growing for a long time. Uh,
That's scary.
what I, yeah, well, it's not like debt like you or I. That's not something that's sustainable. This is definitely this is definitely quantum physics versus Newtonian physics, like the very large and then the very small,
Uh huh.
and then it's like the laws operate differently. Same thing seems in my mind, and I'm not an economist. It's the same thing though. Like what I do here doesn't always translate to out there, and vice versa.
Right.
Uh, but actually, Bill Clinton, I voted for the man, but he signed the law knocking out the Glass Steagall Act.
Oh.
So the Glass Steagall Act it was a law enacted in the 30s. Basically, it said um, uh, investment banks couldn't be banks that were FDIC protected, right? So you couldn't deposit money there like you couldn't take your money to the bank and have a checking account and all that. And so there was this firewall between investment and regular and commercial banking. Glass Steagall was that wall that got knocked down in the mid to late 90s. Well, 10 years later, what happens? You had people doing we had the housing crisis because you had people who were making a ton of money off of off of poor broke
Yeah.
folks
Yep.
who were getting loans for houses that they couldn't
That
afford.
they
It
should
was a
never have had.
Yeah, they called it a bubble, but it
Yeah.
was really criminal, actually.
And they
And
littered
they shouldn't have
those.
agreed to it.
Yeah. There was a ratio towards that, wasn't it, where they would have, like, let's just say they would have 8 crap ones and 2 good ones. So every 10, two good loans and 8 crap ones that they couldn't sustain. So once the interest rate went up, everyone tanked.
Yeah,
Ugh, that's so stupid.
as soon as people stopped paying their mortgage, you had all these banks with loans uh, for money that they weren't getting, and all of a sudden, it really crashed the system.
Hmm.
Something that was the backbone of the American economy suddenly became a toxic bomb, and it blew up the fall that Obama won his first in '08, won his first term. But it there's a yeah there there's a lot to it. That's so oversimplified, but it's also
What attracts you to politics so much? I didn't know this side about you, actually, to be honest with you.
oh really
No, well, I
oh
saw you talk some things about it, and I know you're very smart with it, but I've just always seen you on the lighter side of life. Like we always had a great time. Every time, whenever I went and seen
yeah
you in a show, you were in a comedy show.
yeah
Like yeah, it's quite interesting actually, and you're very smart with it too. You actually understand it better than I ever do. I wish
Hmm.
I had a better understanding, and maybe ignorance is bliss.
I don't know,
Yeah,
man. Thank you. Wow, that's a lot of compliments there. I'm sure you understand more than you think.
probably.
You got two little boys. I mean, I've been a single dude for 12 years,
Yeah.
and or 10 years, and even before then, even when I was married, I was young and dumb. Uh, what attracts me to politics? I think I was going to be a lawyer.
Oh, you'd make a good lawyer, actually. Yeah, I could see
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You build good
Uh,
cases, friend. I've seen you go. I've seen you in some bars as we talk.
oh God, that's funny. Yeah,
It's true.
I was going to be a lawyer, and then what would happen is it started developing. There was a great mock trial team in my high school, and I participated, and I was not very good. And then we got to college, and I would come home on the weekends, and my brother, who was estranged from my dad, my half brother, older half brother, he reconnected with my dad through my mom, and he was living in our house. He was staying in my room. It wasn't my room anymore, actually, and which was fine. I gave it over. That's fine. Uh, and I would come home on the weekends, and they would gang up on me, just arguing nonsense.
Hmm.
Like, you think you've argued with a MAGA? You think you've argued with a crazy lefty? Man, you've not been to my house. My
There you
house
go.
wasn't like it was like here are two guys working in New York City on the streets. My dad's been working on the streets. He was a HVAC guy. My brother was at the time learning to be an electrician. He's now retired, but man, they would put me through the ropes. They would say something, and it would always end with, Paul, you've got a compassionate point of view. It was always because I was always falling on the side of like people are better than that. People are the greater angels will rise to the occasion. Uh, and I think it was those kinds of lively debates, and then of course I found the theater, and I was like, ooh, I don't think I love law for the right reasons. I didn't at the time love the studying it and being able to detach, from 30,000 feet,
Yeah.
seeing greater arguments, making those arguments, and then winning things. For me, I was more interested in justice. That's why I was a philosophy major.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So I was more interested in justice and what's practical. I was a terrible philosophy student, actually. In fact, oh my god, my philosophy
That's
professor,
funny.
one of my philosophy professors, when I got my first review in college, that was my junior year. I'd done a community theater project, and it was a rave. It was a wonderful review, and he brought in the article and he gave it to me. He's like, congratulations, bravo. Um, he was really supportive. And when I graduated a couple of years later, because I wound up taking time off, money and time and crazy, and I came back before I finished. We were talking. He said, I want you to know you've disappointed me. You are a disappointment as a philosophy student. He said, I remember when you came in, I know I was like, I'm going to theater. Like
Yeah.
I just wanted to get out of school. So it
Ouch.
didn't, but it's something that's rung in my ears over the years that I kind of sat and thought about. There's a guy on Substack. His name's Jared Henderson. He's got a YouTube channel too. He's a pretty successful philosopher teacher.
Oh,
And he was really in it, a nerd in it. And I followed him, and I remember confessing this to him. But it, yeah, I think it's because I like figuring out how the world works, and
yeah.
I want to participate, and I want to help other people.
I love that. Yeah, you've always been like that too. I've seen you in many caregiving roles. Like going from Carol and Barry, and then up to Joe. And
Yeah,
seeing that go down. That's a lot of weight for someone to take on, especially like we were probably closest to Carolyn at the time, and that was so hard. You know what I mean? I commend you on that sort of stuff.
yeah, it was tough to watch her.
Mm.
I pretty much pulled away maybe 2 or 3 months before she died, because I didn't. I was very grateful for a lot of things that she did, and I tried to be of service to her. But it was getting to a point; it was getting weird.
Yeah, I noticed
And
towards the end she was weird. I mean, it was you could
oh, it
tell.
wasn't just me.
No, 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 no. It was tricky. It was so sad in so many ways, but she would get so frustrated and so like, I need to be fixed, and you need to fix me, and do this, and she would call me up, and it's like, you don't need to worry about your yard right now. You need to worry about your health. Come over here
Yeah.
and do it, okay? And I would go work for her and do stuff, and man, I think honestly, I never seen that before. Like I saw it, but I didn't acknowledge it when I was a kid with one of my uncles. So seeing her
Hmm.
go through that firsthand, I remember coming out the other side like, why do I need to know about that? Fast forward
Hmm.
a few years later, my wife's dead. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful for that in a sense. But mate, because that's ugh, tricky. Um, let's touch a little bit because I think when you and I were first talking, you had moved to LA from Florida. Is that right? You were doing shows in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I was doing some stuff. I
But
was
you were
hungry in
traveling too.
Florida for a
You were
little bit.
traveling to do stuff. Is that right?
No, so what happened was, well, my ex-wife and I moved to Florida. She was from Florida,
Uh huh.
Naples,
Oh wow.
and we were only there for about a year before we divorced. And when we divorced, I just got in my car, threw what I could, and then drove out west. Man,
Oh, that's a big move, isn't it?
it was a huge move.
Yeah. Your little tiny
Not well
car.
thought. Yeah, little Honda Civic.
Yep, little blue one. I
Uh,
remember that.
yeah. Um, and I wound up getting through Carolyn. I wound up meeting Joe, and Joe was traveling all over the country. And I would say probably for the first 2 years. For the first year, he barely, like for the first 6 months, he barely used me. It wasn't until the fall
Yeah, I
that
remember
year.
that.
Then I started getting some work with him. He would ask me to do this or that or whatever. It would take a couple years before we'd start traveling, and then we'd go all over the country, and I would just sort of support him in any way. It was fun.
Yeah.
And I was doing other things too. I was
Yeah, you're
working for
busy.
something called, yeah, the Gastro Garage. They do savory donuts and create gourmet sandwiches using nitrous foams and blow torches. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty
You
cool.
could do a YouTube channel just off that.
They have one, I'm sure. Great group of guys, fun product, fun experience, great events. I was grateful for that. Adam Maneker and Stuart Levine. Stuart's actually in Atlanta now. Adam's still in LA, but yeah. So I was just banging around the world, man. I was just I love the travel for work idea, and I did a lot of it.
Awesome. No, I like that. You going through. I mean, I suppose you've been with Joe now for a long time, huh? That's a
12
tricky
years.
one. Yeah. Oof.
12 years.
Yeah, and when
Yeah.
because he was traveling, he had his traveling circus with the dancing with the Tremaine Dance Studios, right?
He's still the convention. He knows, yeah, Tremaine Dance Conventions still operate. Um, it's a dance agent. Oh my gosh, how does his name just fly out of my head? Um, but it's a former student of Joe's. He basically operates the convention. He's doing a heck of a job. Really, really revived the brand and really is bringing it to new heights. It's fun to watch from afar.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Continue his legacy.
yeah. Continuing Joe's legacy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, oh my God, why can I not think of his name? I'm ashamed of myself.
There's not Tommy and those guys, was it?
Tommy works for Tremaine Dance. Tommy and uh, Keith Dillion
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Joe
Are
Hall
they
and
still in that
all those
same
guys.
place?
No,
No, good.
no, they lost it during pandemic. Well, rather they left it during pandemic,
Yeah.
and then it was an operational cost that they didn't need, and um, um, they wound up moving. Where did they move? They moved to Magnolia Boulevard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
Uh,
But you got to travel lots with Joe, eh? You know, you guys would go into New York City and all sorts of places, oh. Atlanta and that.
Man, we had a heck of a time. We had a
Yeah.
great time.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember calling you in places where you'd be out and about having fun.
we we really God um, saw some pretty cool things. Yeah, Joe, oh, man, um, he I'm trying to see here.
Hmm.
Oh, it's not. That's not correct. Um, Joe had a fierce reputation for being the most intense dance teacher, especially through the 90s. It feels like the 90s, the like mid 80s through the 90s were kind of the heyday for the studio.
Yeah.
Maybe even like late 70s through the 90s. The studio closed in 97, I think. But he had a remarkable career.
He
He helped a
choreographed a
lot
lot
of
of
people.
stuff, huh?
No, he taught. He taught a lot of people who ended up becoming celebrities.
Hmm.
Jamie Lee Curtis, what's her face from Married with Children, the daughter.
Oh,
Uh,
I should know
anyway,
that because she's hot.
yeah,
I remember
yeah,
growing up with her thinking, girl.
yeah,
I
yeah. She's a Christina Applegate.
Christina Applegate. Yeah, I was thinking Alicia,
Yeah,
but it's not. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. She was great. He just it was like the 3 degrees of Tremaine. I say three because literally it was
Yeah,
Joe, either them directly or them somebody that he knew that was an intermediary that he knew,
yep.
and giant choreographers. Michael Jackson's choreographer, some pretty big giant names actually, giants of industry today.
Yeah.
Actually,
I, if I drop Joe's name to anyone that's in dance, they're like, "Oh, you know Joe Tremaine?" It's
he's a
like,
legend, man.
yeah, dude,
He was
I've worked with him.
Yeah, I like to call him the most famous, not famous person I know.
Yeah,
He loved that. He
yeah,
loved having anonymity in most of his life, being able to go to the Beverly Center and not caring.
yep.
But then if he goes to, Tremaine Convention down at the Sheridan in LA, forget it. He's swarmed. He's
Yeah.
swarmed.
I think the funniest, he would call me, meet me at my office, and I would go there and I would just get some stuff and load it in my car for him or whatever, and then he'd say, "You need to follow me and come, make sure you stick with me." So then I was okay if I had my AMG, but if I had my wagon, I could never catch him because he'd just be 200 miles an hour and
I
flying.
know.
He
God.
flew everywhere, but
He used to get mad at me when I would drive anywhere with him
you
because I
you
would
can't
be
keep up.
defensive. Yeah. He's like, He's like, "What? Go faster. There's space." I was like, "I know. I want there to be." It's called defensive driving, man.
And I'm talking like those narrow streets on the backside of, if anyone's been to Hollywood or if you haven't, I mean, they're teeny tiny and they're just windy to get up them through. And he's in a GL 450, bah, just roaring through
No.
there.
Bombing through, yeah.
It's fun. And I'm a good driver. So, I mean, most times I'd keep up with him, but sometimes, like, I'm not blowing through that stop sign. You're an idiot. Good luck.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
He was
yeah,
always
yeah.
impatient. I got stuff to do.
I got nobody's time. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
fun though. His conversations are great. He's such a schmoozing person. You know what I mean? Like when he talks and he gives you his attention, it's like God's shining a light on you or something. You know what I mean? It just feels really, wow. He talked to me.
yeah.
And his
Yeah, it's
best friend
funny.
Cheetah.
Yeah, she just passed.
Yeah, yeah,
She
yeah. She's
passed in
gone.
January.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they oh man, it's just talking with those guys. Everyone that I watched growing up, and liked, they all knew.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's how I met Florence Henderson.
Oh wow,
Mama Brady through Joe. She
that's
was
really
coming to some
cool.
events. He didn't even have a connection to her directly. She
Yeah.
wasn't a dancer, didn't take his class, but they had met at an award ceremony a couple years before she passed, and it was like they just hit it off.
That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun.
Hey, I just realized we're coming up on time. Do you need to go catch a plane or something? I don't want to.
I do have to get going.
Yeah.
Our car arrives at 3, and I still need to. I'm mostly packed, but I just want to go through it a little bit. So yeah, I
Hmm.
should get going. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
you ever have something come up or you're launching something or anything you're in acting wise, let's have a chat.
Yeah, man. Of course,
Yeah,
of
launch it here
course.
for you. And where's that your website for your blog that you're doing right now? You want to put that out there?
It, It's on Substack. It's just my name, Paul Micheshin. You can find me on Substack. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Little humble following.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm grateful.
Yeah, no, and I think it's going to be like it's very well written. I like your views. It's even I know you and I don't see eye to eye on all of them, but I love and respect you. Period. I think you're a great person.
Well, that's man.
So it was fun to read and be like, oh, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like it actually opened my eyes up a little bit. So thank you. I appreciate the insight. So if anyone wants to go there and check that out, go support Paul. He's a good man. Appreciate
Thanks,
it. I hope you
man.
have a great Thanksgiving, buddy.
Thank you. You too. Happy Thanksgiving. Love you,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, I love you too, man. Thank you so much.
All right.
Cheers.